What started out as a idea here using these candles, I was actually surprised at the very end of the last test I did with this, with the results. It wasn't what I expected. I mean, it was going great, and then the end, not so much. Still worked okay, but I didn't really think that would happen. So you'll see the results as we finish through this video. But now I'm more looking forward to trying something with sterno with this bigger can to see if I can get a bigger heater generated. But let's keep going with this, and you'll see exactly what I meant. I had previously done a video on this ammo can heater using sterno, and as you can see, I did testing on using, I think, 1 can, 2 can, 3 cans, and it packs in nicely with the 6 cans of that sterno if you want to pack it in. But I was curious to see how it would work out using emergency candles, and I had bought like a case of these back at one point from, I think it was like a dollar store. They were $1 a piece, and I'm curious to see if we can set this up with 6 candles inside, and how that heat's going to compare to using the sterno. And because honestly, I'd feel more comfortable using the candles than the sterno on something that doesn't have a ton of ventilation. Like if you're in a kind of a cabin that's more enclosed and is not have a lot of gaps and whatnot. For instance, I'm in the process right now of building a cabin above the lake for my daughter, and I'm looking at alternative heat sources. I have a little wood stove that goes up there, like one of those little small ones, and possible I can use that. I have a diesel heater similar to that one that I may actually use up there as well, or instead of the wood stove for the heater, more because I want to make it as easy as possible for them, and also less chances of having anything catch fire up there. But I'm really curious to see how it would compare heat-wise from the sternos, which produced a good amount of heat, with just candles. So I'm going to do some quick testing, and I'm going to put the comparison from the results of my other video against these candles, and we'll see how it works. I've removed the sterno cans, and as you can see, you're looking at probably around 52 to 53 degrees or so for this ammo can as we are in here. Right now it's about 50 or so inside this woodshed. Sorry, the workshop. So it's not super cold outside, but this should give us a good indication as to, once we light all of these and take the temperatures that are coming out of these holes and at top, once it starts to heat up, to see if it's going to be anywhere equivalent to what we're getting out of the sterno, and to see if it's worth it to have a little bit safer using candles. I've now just lit all 6 candles, and you can feel the heat coming up just above here, just on my hands. And what I'm going to do now is probably shut the camera off real quick just so I can have 2 free hands. And I'm going to close the lid on this and try to contain some of that heat, and then let it pour out the sides and top. With my first attempt here, I've encountered what I encountered with this sterno, and I had to add a whole bunch more holes. Right now, both times I've done this, I've done it twice now, the 2 back candles went out and only the front 4 stayed lit, because I think it's a lack of oxygen within there. and whether it be enough holes on that side or something. But the two back candles, and I don't know if you can see it through here, I'll turn it to the side a little bit. The two back candles are not lit. I'm going to test it with just the front four being lit to see how much we're getting with that. And I'm double checking now just to make sure all four of those are still lit, which they are. It's just the back. So as you can see, coming up right around these holes, about 110. Here we're getting about 115. Now the top of this is getting nice and warm. 182, 223, that very center of this 208. So this is actually got some decent heat coming up. Not anything extremely potent, kind of like, I think we actually had more heat coming out of those sternos. I think we'd be better off if I could have all four lit. I will try again, see what happens. I think we're getting a lot of heat right off the top just because the candles are so close to the top of that lid. And I'm not sure. I'm curious to see when the candles would burn down to see how much heat would be being produced and how much the candles, all candles, would stay lit. What I'm going to try right now, I opened the cover again and I lit the two back candles, and I'm going to give this a minute just to give the candles a chance to start puddling. If you notice, the two back ones are still at the very top of the candles, but these candles here already start puddling in the center. So if we give this a second, let those to start puddle, and then when I close it, hopefully all six will stay lit. Now that I let all those candles puddle, all six candles are burning, and no issues with either one of those back ones going out. So let's take a couple quick temps to see what's coming out of the hole. Probably 130, same there. And as we're getting back up here, back up to 205, 206, 210. What's coming out of those little holes, you're getting 236 there. If we can get the temp coming out of the little holes, 240. That's 208 towards the ends. But the center here is where you're going to get a lot of your heat. And 250, 247. So that's actually not too bad. Can feel some good residual heat coming out of this, and the longer it goes, the more it warms up. Like, this isn't even warmed up to be too hot to the touch. I think the more we give this, the more the metal warms up and the better temps we're going to get. So I'm going to give this 5 minutes to see what it's going to give us for temps after 5 minutes. But this, what I like about, again, they were $1 a piece just for the emergency candles. They burn 5.5 hours on each candle. So basically for $1, you're going to get 5.5 hours burn time producing that amount of heat for each time. And if, like I said, if it's something where you need a little bit of emergency heat, or if you're trying to heat a cabin, if you can get a little bit of that residual heat coming out of that for a very long period of time, it's worth the, buck that you just spent for that one particular package of candles. And you're probably going to have another 12 of them on hand easily. This has been burning now for about 5 minutes, and now the whole unit is actually heating up. On the sides you're getting up, as you can see, increasing. But the nice thing now, the whole top, everywhere you look at it, is running. You're going to get some hot spots up to about 300 where the holes are, but even in the centers, as you're looking down, you're staying mostly somewhere around between 250 to 300 on the top of that unit, which is producing a fair amount of heat. Now, this unit packs up very nicely with these sternos. The sternos last 2.5 hours each, and if you can run all three in the unit, that's great. I think I would run 2 at a time, and I'll go back and look at the numbers from my first video, and I'll put them up on the screen here real quick. But I think I would run 2 at a time, and also keep some of these candles on hand. This way you can generate a lot more heat with the sterno for fast heat, and then pull them out, put your candles in, and then run it for 5.5 hours per burn time with just the candles, for instance, if you wanted to get some sleep. And then it would just generate less heat, but for a longer amount of time. So I think combined, that one little ammo can and packed with those sterno cans, and 4 to 6 of those $1 candles can actually give you a decent little emergency heat setup. Now, I'm not talking you're going to heat up a 20 by 40 building. I'm talking if you have a small room, or for instance upstairs up in New Hampshire, where I'm doing the cabin. It's an 8 by 8 cabin, and it's fairly tight. So something like this could actually produce enough heat on a cool night to warm the place, and not really have to worry about doing a buddy heater or something like that. So more than likely what I would do is I would recreate this little heater here with a second ammo can, load both of them with 6 of those sterno, keep a bunch of the candles on hand, and that could be 2 nice little heat generators. What I want to try next is figuring out a nice, safe heating source using this bigger ammo can here. I think that might be my next video, probably over the next month or so. I've got a bunch more projects I got to get done, but I'd love to try to get a heating source based off of this that would be able to pack more things inside for storage, as far as either the sterno or candles or whatnot. And once you pull all the stuff out, move it aside, set your heat source in, use it as a heater, and then you'll have all the heats, the heat elements that you need in one unit, and not have to carry 2. But we'll see how that one works out. But for now, I think Ammo Can 2.0 has worked out much better than the first one, as far as I've come to the conclusion that if I combine these 2 methods, it's going to be far better than using just a sterno. We can all agree that you're not going to heat up a huge space with this, but in an emergency type situation, you lose power at your house and you have no other heat source, you're going to basically take the smallest room you have and try to get some kind of heat going. This, or 2 of these, or maybe a bigger one like that, the nice thing too is that if you can put it in a spot, get it nice and secure, and as we can see here, if you're running between 260 to 300 degrees on the top of that, you can now set down on that, a metal mug to warm up either coffee, warm up some kind of hot cocoa, just water, heat soup, something to actually help generate heat inside of you as well. So it's more of multi-purpose to be able to at least have something instead of relying on shivering under a bunch of blankets and drinking cold beverages. One very surprising thing I noticed with this is that you can really feel the residual heat. You think you wouldn't because it's such a small thing, but this pretty much tells you. So that can is just sitting next to it. You're looking at 55 degrees or so on that side away from it. The side that's next to it, you're looking at 76 degrees. The residual heat that this thing is pushing out is enough to jump this 20 degrees from the side right near it to the side over on the other side. Surprisingly, it feels warm. So I took some time and continued a little bit further with letting this burn down a little bit more yesterday. And you're going to see the results of letting this run for maybe an hour and a half. Downside, your candles are going to start to melt, and I should have probably thought about that. The heat that's being generated inside is making the candles softer than normal, and it is actually causing it to burn a little quicker, and also the wax to melt more than it normally would. So what would be 5.5 hour candles are going to be about maybe 2.5, 3 hour tops for candles. So it may not be the greatest solution, or if I could probably use 2 bigger candles instead, but then that kind of defeats the purpose of having your $1 emergency candle heater. So yeah, does it work? Yep. Would it work great in combo with the sterno and some candles? Absolutely. Results were not the best. I'm going to do some work now, probably next week or so, with the big ammo box. We're going to see if I can do that with some of the sterno and make a much better heater than I did the first time.